Welcome to Happily Holistic. I'm Amy Lee Mercury, and I'm a medical intuitive with 20 years of experience. I've written 15 books on health and wellness. If you've had a medical intuitive session with me, you know that the thoughts and emotions within you, what has been passed down from your ancestors, and everything that surrounds you can impact your well-being. In this podcast, we touch on my favorite ways for you to improve your health and feel more joy. We dive deeply into everything health and wellness with a big dash of spirituality and a sprinkle of business. We spotlight the uplifting and the positive and share the secret ways top wellness authors and celebrities get inspired, stay healthy, and enjoy this beautiful life. I can't wait to get happily holistic with you today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Happily Holistic. I am very excited today. We get to talk to Jenny Sansouci. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, thank you for pronouncing my last name correctly. That is rare.
I'm glad I did because I didn't ask you before.
You did perfectly.
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here, and I want to tell our listeners about you. So Jenny is the author of the Rebels Apothecary, a practical guide to the healing magic of cannabis, CBD, and mushrooms. Jenny is a certified coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and has been trained by functional medicine doctor Frank Lipman in New York City. I'm so glad you're here, Jenny.
So glad to be here.
I'm really excited to order your book.
Oh,
and
great.
I really want to read it. I've been eyeing it for months. I've been following Jenny on Instagram and I highly recommend it. She's got all kinds of fun content. And I've been like, wow, I really want to get this book. So I'd love to hear the genesis of this book. Where did it start and how did it come about? And tell us all about it.
Sure. All right. Well, as you read my bio, I've been working in the wellness industry for many years as a health coach, and I was working for a functional medicine doctor as a health coach, and I had a wellness blog that I started back in 2008. So awesome. I have been writing online about wellness topics for a very long time. Most recently, it's been paused because writing a book was taking up all of my attention. But for many years, I was writing this blog, and back in 2017, my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I sort of just jumped into this mode of how can I help him with all the resources I have in the nutrition world and all the people and functional medicine doctors and everyone I'm connected with. There has to be something I can do to support his cancer treatment.
Yes.
I knew he was going to go the traditional route with chemotherapy. And I just wanted to be able to be there on the sidelines with him to support his immune system and to, potentially support his cancer treatment if I could, and just do anything. I mean, it's my dad. He's just, my hero. And so that was just a huge life-changing moment for me. So I started to dive into some research and see and ask around, and then, look at, what are other people doing to help their immune system? Because I know that chemotherapy just kind of ravages people's immune systems.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people really, really can't tolerate it and their bodies start to break down. I was like, how can I, help him stay as strong as possible through this process? And, no cancer is fun to have at all, but stage 4 pancreatic cancer is very, doesn't have great statistics associated with it. And so when I first Googled it, I was like, I wish I didn't Google that because there's nothing good. I couldn't find anything good. So I just had to kind of put my own little home treatment plan together for him based on what I was finding. And cannabis and medicinal mushrooms, specifically the non-psychedelic mushrooms. I do talk about psychedelic mushrooms as well in my book and have had my own experiences with them. But for my dad, we were really focusing on the non-psychedelic medicinal mushrooms. As well as CBD, THC, and kind of all the compounds in the cannabis plant. I was finding a lot of research and anecdotal stories and, videos that people had made about it. And So we kind of started getting him on this regimen. We got him a medical marijuana card, and we had him start to take this really high potency cannabis oil from a medical dispensary.
Awesome.
And along with CBD oil, and then a bunch of different medicinal mushrooms, like 10 different medicinal mushrooms. And, you know, he was totally on board with trying whatever I recommended. And we got his oncologist okay. I mean, his oncologist said, you know, I can't tell you that this is going to do anything, but it probably won't hurt you. So why don't you, you know, do what you need to do, and then we'll just check in along the way and make sure the plan is working, or you know, at least that you're not being harmed. And so with that, we just took the green light to kind of start experimenting. And a lot of his side effects from the chemotherapy started to go away after getting on on this at-home regimen. So like his nausea and appetite loss, and his pain started to go away from the CBD, and his immune system started to get stronger. And there's just so many things that started to shift once he got on this regimen. So I started to write about it on my blog, because I was like, listen, there's nothing positive that I found. Like, what would I want to find during that moment when I first found out he was diagnosed? And like, I would have loved to find like something like what I had written, you know, because it was positive. It would
have given you hope and
Yes. So I was like, I need to contribute, you know, I need to contribute to the positive information out there on the internet. So I started to blog about it and put it on Instagram, and was kind of showing his journey on my Instagram stories. And a mutual friend of mine and my now book agent sent my blog to my book agent. And the book agent was like, wow, like, would you be interested in writing a book about this? Because like, I love this content that you've written, and maybe we can combine cannabis and mushrooms into the same book. And, you know, because both of these topics sort of have, you know, people that don't know about medicinal mushrooms or have never heard about medicinal mushrooms like chaga and reishi and those kinds of mushrooms, when they hear medicinal mushrooms, people think like, oh, do you mean psychedelic mushrooms? And then with cannabis, people are like, oh, well, that's a drug, right? So people are asking all the same kind of questions. And so we're like, it would be really cool to put these into the same book together, talk about the different healing benefits, and kind of like shift the stigma around some of these things to more of the medicine outlook on them. So that's the long story of how the book came to be.
I love that. And did that help your dad through the process too?
Yes. Oh, totally. Yeah. And he helped me with so much of the book, and, you know, we experimented with different things along the way, and we really honed in on, you know, what were the things that were really working, what were the things we wanted to change. And honestly, I think him knowing that I was writing a book about it, I think gave him kind of more of like a zest for
what I'm thinking.
For life. And like a purpose and a project to help me on. I mean, it's definitely the biggest project that I've ever worked on in my life. And we've never worked on a project together like this before, you know? So it was like, you know, he wrote a whole chapter in the book, and so because I have a cancer section, because the book's not just focused on cancer, it's all the different wellness uses for all of the different mushrooms, 7 different mushrooms, and then cannabis and CBD. And then I do have the cancer section, which kind of outlines everything that we've been doing for him. So yeah, I mean, it definitely made it more of a joyful, I guess, and bonding experience for us. And it still is, you know, it's almost, God, what is it? It's almost 4 years later, and he's still feeling really well. And so, so it's been really good.
And kind of like a joint contribution and legacy, you know, I mean, this is, it looks to me like a reference book that will be, I'll be consulting, you know, we'll be consulting for a long time. I know a lot of research and, you know, scientific data went into this.
Yeah, that was really important to me because, well, first of all, my dad is very data driven. He's very sciencey. He's not like into holistic alternative remedies. Like, I can get really out there with things. He's much more, well, let me see, like, does this actually make sense? You know? And so it was really important to me to combine, like, I already lean towards trusting, looking into alternative remedies and stuff like that. But I really wanted it to be accessible for people who don't naturally gravitate towards that. So they would be like, oh, this isn't just some like woo-woo plant book, you know, like nothing wrong with that. I love those books too. But like, I wanted it to be like my dad's friends could open it and be like, oh, this like makes sense. And maybe because a lot of the people that that end up reading my book are also caregivers for maybe an older generation who might have a stigma against some of these topics. And so I wanted to really be able to bridge the gap for those people and have it be like, okay, this makes sense. And maybe it'll open their minds up to at least trying something.
And even, you know, I'm thinking about like my grandmother, like, you know, someone who's responsible for the care of that person, even if they're in a facility, can bring your book in and say, you know, read this. This is why I'd like to also have my family member taking some of these things.
Yeah. And you know, some people like, there's a lot in the book, and some people will just take one thing from it. And you know, one of my very dear friends, his mom also has pancreatic cancer, now liver cancer, and her doctor wouldn't approve of her with the cannabis. I mean, every doctor is going to be different, and every person is going to be different based on their condition. And there's a medication that she was on that he was worried about, but she was open to taking a turkey tail mushroom supplement, which is just one of the mushrooms that my dad is on, but it's very well known for being great for the immune system and for having anti-tumor properties. So the fact that she was just open to that one thing, I really think that supported her immune system during her treatment as well. So you never know, it could just be like one tiny little tidbit that someone takes out that makes their life a little easier.
And then for you know, people who aren't sick to learn about this now and be using these things preventatively too.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I was telling Jenny before we got on our call, I'm having an afternoon. So I make this is from Parks and Rec, treat yourself. My boyfriend gave me that because he knows I enjoy that show. Awesome. I make an afternoon beverage sometimes, not all the time. And it's a hot chocolate. It has Garden of Life sport chocolate protein powder, and then I put raw cacao, I put cinnamon, sometimes clove, nutmeg, ginger, I put maca powder, and I thought, you know, it's kind of adaptogenic, and I want to take a dance class tonight, and I'll have a client after you, so I wanted to like have a little dopamine going to just stay awake and be ready to go take a dance class. So point being, I was saying to Jenny, maybe she could tell us, in addition to my little recipe, what else could we put in here to make this even more medicinal?
Yes, 100%. First of all, I'm going to make that drink right when I get off.
Doesn't that sound good?
That sounds so good. I don't have
and it's protein.
Yeah, I do have cacao, maca, and I do have a little protein powder here too. I'm going to make that. Okay, so what I would suggest is 2 different mushrooms I think would be really great to add to that drink. One, because you said you're going to take a dance class, I would add Cordyceps mushroom to that. And that is kind of the athlete's mushroom, right? It's like
I should get on that.
Yeah, it helps like with endurance and like oxygen flow and blood circulation in the body. It's also can boost your libido. So a lot of people like to take that before a workout, but there's no caffeine in it, so it's not going to like stimulate you and then make you crash. It just kind of like naturally supports your adrenals and can really help with the workout. So Cordyceps, I would add for that. As far as like
a powder, like how do we get our Cordyceps? Well,
great question. I would, you can do it in a powder or a tincture if you're going to add it to a drink. Tinctures like usually are made with alcohol. So there's like, could be a little alcohol taste in it. So if you don't want that, I usually use a powder.
That's what I'm thinking would be good for a drink.
There's the ones from Four Sigmatic are probably the ones that people are most familiar with, because they're like at a lot of health food stores and stuff. So they have really good little packets that you could even bring with you, like to your dance class or to the gym or something, and like throw it into your drink and stir it in. So that's what I would suggest.
Not to interrupt. That's mushroom one.
No, totally. Yes, mushroom one. And then the second mushroom, because you said you have a client and it sounds like you're going to be working, lion's mane. So lion's mane mushroom, that's another one you can either use as a powder or a tincture. I mean, you can take these things as capsules as well, but like I think it's more fun to like taste them and to put them into a drink. So lion's mane, that is the mushroom that's really good for cognitive function and memory. And it can help you to form like new neural connections in your brain. So it can really support brain health in general. So anytime I'm sitting down to write or work, or I didn't take any today because I ran out of it here in Tulum, but if I'm going to do a podcast, I'll take some lion's mane before, because it just kind of makes me feel like more sharp. So yeah, lion's mane is like the brain mushroom, and then cordyceps would be like the athletic mushroom, so the energy mushroom. So those are the two.
Going in there. And I'll put a story. Sometimes I make a story when I'm making my little beverages.
Oh, perfect.
And
I'll
put it. I'll put it in, and I'll say, Jenny told me to put this in.
I love watching people make beverages on stories, so I will watch those
too. I just
we both love beverages. We've gotten that clear.
I love beverages. I make a lot of different beverages, like and a lot of hot beverages in the Vitamix. Like I make that in the Vitamix. So then it's frothy, like a cappuccino, but it's a hot chocolate.
Love it.
Except it's non-dairy. I just use hot water.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not picky with that stuff.
We'll be right back after this short break. Hey there, it's Amy Lee Mercury. People have been asking what to expect when you book a medical intuitive session with me. Whether you have had a medical intuitive session before or are completely new to the idea, working with a medical intuitive may be right for you if you are looking to uncover the root cause of one or more mild to moderate health concerns. Working with me is not designed to take the place of seeing an integrative doctor or your chosen health practitioner. The way a session begins is you get to share your questions and concerns. After that, I say an opening invocation, which is adapted from something shared with me by my late medicine teacher about 25 years ago. It invites your highest vibrational spirit guides to participate in the session. These may be ancestors, angelic guides, or other benevolent non-physical beings. After the invocation, I let you know which guides want to talk with you and what they have to say. We address your questions and concerns and find resolutions and answers. If there are health issues, we find the root causes of the issues. To learn more about my medical intuitive work, check out the Work With Me page on amyleemercury.com.
Love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's new on my list. I'm going to order those.
Good.
So I was actually thinking too, I wanted to talk to you about the whole endocannabinoid receptor thing, because I used some CBD oil when I had something going on in my tooth, and I ended up getting dental work, and I've never responded well to like traditional pain relievers. They really don't do anything for me, and plus I know, they're organ damaging and stuff. So I was like really pleasantly surprised how much topical CBD oil in that area worked. So I'd love for you to walk us through, for my edification as well, the endocannabinoid receptor thing and all of it associated, because I think it's really awesome information.
It is so interesting. And I love that you had kind of a before and after moment with pain, because I did as well. And so did my dad, which is kind of like one of the things that made me get really interested in CBD is when I first had my dad start taking CBD. This is before we got him on the medical marijuana card and everything. So he was just taking CBD capsules, and he was like, after like a week maybe of taking these, he was like, my joints don't hurt when I walk up and down the stairs anymore. That's weird. He's like, I haven't had to take Advil, because usually he takes Advil every day because of his joint pain. And he was like, I just don't have to take Advil anymore. And I was like, that's interesting. I had the same before and after with my menstrual cramps, because I am also a person who has historically taken a lot of Advil for cramps every month. And when I started to take CBD, I'll use like a combo. I'll talk about the whole system in a second, but I use usually a combo of like a topical and either like a capsule or a tincture, and sometimes even a suppository.
Awesome.
And that totally takes away my cramps, which are like
Wow.
really strong cramps. So I was like,
Wow.
okay, there's really something to this. So basically, our bodies, we have a system in our body called the endocannabinoid system, and it works directly with the molecules in the cannabis plant, but it wasn't like made for cannabis. We actually create our own molecules in the body to keep us in homeostasis, with a lot of different areas of the body. So pain perception, anxiety, our sleep cycles, even different organs throughout our body have these receptors on them. And we have them in the brain and the spinal cord as well, which is why CBD can help with mood and anxiety and things like that. And so the molecules in the cannabis plant directly interact with this system that we already have in our body. So for instance, with pain, like when we are experiencing pain, our body will naturally produce these endocannabinoid molecules to kind of try to mitigate the pain. And so when we take extra CBD, it's supporting that system that's already kind of in place to help us mitigate these things. So pain is one of the big ones, because our pain perception is highly, monitored by the endocannabinoid system. So when you're taking cannabis products or extra CBD, you're essentially boosting those natural levels of endocannabinoids in your system. That's going to reduce your pain perception. So I think, and this is happening with all different systems throughout our body. So it's really fabulous. And one of the biggest ones that people usually notice is pain, because there's such a before and after. Other things are noticeable. Like if your anxiety is lowered, it's noticeable, but pain is like such a big one for people. If someone's able to sleep throughout the night without pain, or to walk up and down the stairs without pain, or to go through your monthly cycle without pain, that's a huge difference for so many people in the way they've been living like their entire lives.
Such an improvement in quality of life.
Yes. So it's really, really cool. It's really cool to see how we have these receptors that are just, naturally fit with not only CBD, but THC and some of the other compounds within the cannabis plant all work with the system.
Really neat.
Yeah.
And hopefully I don't think this is a dumb question or anything. I'm just learning. If I put hemp hearts on my salad, like I like to eat them, they have iron and I just feel like they're good. I just eat what I'm guided to eat. Do we get those how am I supposed to say that?
They're cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids. Do we get the endocannabinoids from hemp hearts or no?
No, well, no, that's a good question. So that's a different part of the plant.
Part of the plant.
So the seeds and the stalk are used for different things, like making clothing and fibers and hemp seeds. And yes, there's a lot of nutrition and essential fatty acids and stuff in those hemp hearts that are very good for you. But the actual medicine, the cannabinoids that I'm talking about, that's going to be the CBD, the THC, the other compounds, they're all going to come from, if you think about a cannabis plant and you think about when you think about smoking weed, you think about like these buds, right? Like they're kind of like
the leaves too.
Yes, the leaves and the flowers of the plant.
The flowers.
The buds are like the flowers, and that's where the medicine comes from. It's like this resin that is inside the flowers that has all of the medicine in it. So it's not going to be the same.
Do the leaves have properties? Do we consume the leaves?
Yeah, the leaves do too, but just in less amounts. Yeah. A lot less.
So then
most of the CBD oil, if you're going to get like a tincture, that's usually what people are most familiar with is a tincture, and that comes from the flower, the bud, the resin in that flower, and that's going to be basically what products, when you're buying products at the store, it's already heated, meaning it's called decarboxylation, which is what needs to happen for the compounds that are naturally in the cannabis plant. Once they're heated, then they convert to the CBD or the THC or whatever you're looking for. And that's why people smoke or cook with it, or because it has to heat up. So the tinctures that you buy in the store, usually most of them, or capsules, that's already kind of decarboxylated and put into a tincture form for you to take.
So what would happen if we consumed the flower bud without heating it?
Good question. You would not feel, so THC is the compound inside cannabis that makes you feel the high. You would not feel the high, and so the CBD and THC would not be present in that usually. Sometimes it can kind of naturally decarboxylate over time, or just like as the plant gets older, like it can kind of
through environmental
yeah,
exposure and stuff.
exactly. But most, you're not gonna get those properties. But the THC, the compounds that are there before those other compounds, which are called THCA and CBDA, they're the acid cannabinoids. They actually have a lot of anti-inflammatory properties to them as well. So it's not, useless to consume it without it being decarboxylated.
You might take it as an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. And they're doing more studies on that now, and there are more products coming out with just those compounds in them. So you may see a tincture that's like, oh, this is CBDA. That's basically just before it's converted to CBD, and it does have some of the same properties, but not all.
And when it's heated, then do those anti-inflammatory properties remain, but then the additional properties are added in, or does it change?
It switches to a different molecule completely. So yes, it still has anti-inflammatory properties, and it has other properties as well, but it's converted to a
little bit different mechanism. Okay.
Yeah.
Love. I'm a total plant nerd, but these are plants I actually don't know about. So I'm like, I want to know about them because
aren't plants amazing?
I love plants. I'm a nature person, so I'm like to identify the plants and look them up in my books and stuff. So this is one I don't see, so I don't know about.
And I consider cannabis, people always used to say like cannabis is like the gateway drug to like harder drugs, but I consider it the gateway plant to learning about plant medicine, because once you start to learn how it works with our body and how many things it can actually help people with, then you're like, okay, it really turns people on to other kinds of plant medicines and different herbs and stuff, and just realizing there's so much out there in the natural world that supports us as humans. Like we all come from the same place, right? We come from the earth, and so do plants. Like the whole ecosystem supports each other. So we're just
meant to work together. I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Are you so you're in Tulum, and are there different mushrooms available? Like, are different things growing in that you wouldn't be able to get in the United States, or is it kind of is it the same?
I actually haven't seen any of these. There's definitely CBD here. I haven't seen like the medicinal mushrooms here.
I'm just wondering for like wild crafting purposes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
I need to like understand where these things are like where they're even native from and where they grow and stuff. But it just made me wonder. Like sometimes you hike in certain areas, like in the Pacific Northwest, if it's the right time, you can get lamb's quarters, like just wild craft it. Which
the Pacific Northwest is such an amazing place for mushrooms. There's so many kinds of mushrooms, and also the psychedelic mushrooms, a lot of them grow there too. But I would definitely not suggest people just go and
don't go wild crafting those
and eat them without
no, that might be intense.
An experienced guy.
Maybe a little much, but
it's a beautiful place to find mushrooms up there. Yeah,
that's good. That's good information though. I like to know like what's edible in general, but you have to be careful. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So much good stuff. I'm so excited to read your book, Jenny.
Oh, I'm excited for you to read it.
Thank you so much.
I hope you find it helpful. It sounds like you know a lot about plants.
I do, but not these plants, and I've wanted to. That's why I've had my eye on your book. Like, I need to read this thing because this is good information that I will use. I am going to add cordyceps and lion's mane to my afternoon hot chocolate.
Amazing. And if you want one for nighttime, I would do reishi. Add reishi to like a nighttime tea, because that's really calming for the nervous system.
Oh, that sounds good. I used to have these reishi like little vials, and you put the straw in, you drink the reishi tincture with honey. Oh, those things were awesome.
That sounds great.
They were from like an Asian store years ago. Oh, I loved them.
Oh, that sounds really good.
They were really good. They tasted so good. I mean, it was basically honey and reishi tincture in a vial. I've looked for them for years. I think they're not made anymore. Oh, were those good? Yeah, those things are awesome.
Yeah, reishi is really good with honey because it's a pretty bitter on its own if you don't add something to it. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yay, thank you for enlightening us, teaching me about the endocannabinoid system that I've been wondering about, and so much more. Let's tell our listeners, where can they find you and your offerings?
Sure. Well, I am on Instagram quite a lot at Jenny Sansouci, JennySansouci, over on Instagram. My book you can really find wherever you buy books.
Yes.
I have a link at rebelsapothecary.com is like my little book page where you can get a couple of little extra bonuses if you buy it through that page. There's a webinar on there that I did with my dad, and a little a dosing guide and a product guide that I put together just as like extra bonuses. And then my blog is healthycrush.com, and actually I have a free chapter to the book, the immune system chapter, which I know everyone is thinking about immunity. So I do give away a free chapter over at healthycrush.com, just at the top of the page. You can grab that if you want to check it out.
Love it. I like that name. I need to look at that.
Healthy Crush.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's such a fun name.
Yeah, it came to me like I was, when I started my blog many years ago, it came to me while I was on a run. I was living in Williamsburg, Brooklyn at the time, and I was just like, I really want to start this blog, but I need the perfect name. And it popped into my head, and I sprinted home to see if the URL was available.
And get it.
I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah.
I know so many ideas, and then like the URL is not there. I know. Luckily, you got it a while ago, because
I got it. Yeah,
everything's been bought
a long time ago. And I like don't want to give it up now, even though I'm kind of like shifting what I'm doing and stuff. I'm like, I can't give up Healthy Crush because like it's.
I own a lot of URLs. It's really silly. I don't know if you do that, but like
I do. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I have quite a few random ones.
Something to just like lightly hoard, I think.
Yeah.
It's a good kind of hoarding. It doesn't take up physical space.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we got to chat.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so glad you were here. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Happily Holistic. We are wishing you a joyful day seasoned with mushrooms and endocannabinoids.
Thanks for listening to Happily Holistic with me, Amy Lee Mercury. You can find out more about the show on amyleemercury.com on the podcast page. Please stop by your favorite social platform and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear how you liked today's show and what topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Come find me on Instagram and Facebook at amyleemercury.com. If you would like to see what a medical intuitive session with me is all about, hop on over to the Work With Me page on amyleemercury.com. Until next time, stay happily holistic.